it's just always movement. My first passion ever in life was dance. Before I even knew what the word passion meant, I just knew that this was something that I really loved. Pursuing dance as a career, making it to Broadway in New York, being a Radio City Rockette. Everything that I do now is still around movement, because as I've transitioned into the wellness space, I realized that movement has always been a sanctuary and a refuge, almost like it's been my church.
Hi, my Pysa Noel Show passion propellers and bold beauties. How are you? Today, I have my dope friend, Desiree, that I've literally known since I was a baby. Hi, Desiree.
Hi, Pysa. I'm so happy to be here finally. And yes, I've known you my whole life.
Yes. Yes, I'm super excited to have her here. I've known her since I was a kid, as I mentioned, and she does so many things. Okay, so I have an entrepreneur, an herbalist. Is that how you say it?
Yes.
Okay. Herbalist, health and wellness specialist, professional dancer. I call it a retreat leader. I don't know if that's ghetto, but that's what I call it.
I love it.
An author. She does her own therapy. She does spiritual stuff. She's an adventurous. And just like there's no limitations for anything that Desiree does. And it always inspires me watching her like just live life with no limitations and with joy, so much passion. And of course, our show is about passion today. One of the main things I want to say is I am super grateful because she was the person that inspired my mom to put me in dance. And because of her, I have a life passion of dance. Years later, now we meet again, and I have a new passion of traveling. So this is my newfound passion. And again, she inspired me for that. I'm just really grateful that we crossed paths. God has his reasons, and I'm super grateful. So that's some of the stuff that I want to say, but there's so much more that's going to happen throughout the conversation.
I'm going to be crying already. Like, it's just thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. I love everything that you said. And yeah, I am multi-hyphenated at the most. But I also wanted to just say that I really feel like a real special kindred relationship with you. And I really do feel your mom's spirit, like looking down on us as we continue to grow into women and just our lives, you know, how they've been intertwined. And now as adults, for us to be on this passion road, I love it. We have such similar backgrounds coming from dance and now using that dance platform to transition and transform into something else and also bring other people with us. That's also part of it. So I just wanted to kind of say that and thank you so much for having me here. And I'm really proud of you to see you expand in this way. So
thank you. First of all, about my mom, I always thought that she was like ahead of her time. And she always just like thought ahead of her time. She said, hey, try something different, do something different. And she wanted her baby to be like Desiree.
And that meant a lot to me. She listened to me a lot because I had a lot of big dreams back then. And I was still very young when you lived down the street. You were just a baby. But I would talk to her about my goals and dreams, but she never tried to downplay them or downsize them at all. She always really encouraged me a lot. So, you know, for her to want you to kind of model yourself after me, it just means so much. And even to find out that that's actually what you did when I found out that you were dancing and all that stuff. So I just feel like that's just the way the universe works. And that's the way spirit is. And I feel her presence around. And especially the more that I'm with you, I feel her presence. So thank you, Miss Brenda.
Oh my gosh, that makes me so teary to hear that she would like listen to your dreams and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
That's how I remember my mom. But I didn't know that she had always been that way.
She always was. She always was. I'm sure that she's looking down and seeing how you're like expanded and how it's continuing to grow and be so proud. Yeah, I know it's very sentimental, but it's real. It's real and it's passionate. Real. It's passionate.
Yes.
Your mom was very passionate.
Yeah, she always said, I don't have any rhythm, but we're going to push you to do whatever you love. Okay, so as mentioned, we're talking all things passion. We're talking about keeping it present in your life. You know, we always have to have passion present in our life, no matter what it is. It just feeds the soul and it helps us keep moving. Without passion, it's like, what is life without passion? But Desiree is someone that I've seen pursue passion and include it in her lifestyle. And I want to hear about how she does that. So to start off with, what is a passion that you keep present in your life right now?
The passion that I keep right now, I think it's just always movement. It all kind of is very intertwined. My first passion ever in life was dance. I started dance as a youngster, like 3 or 4, but it just was something that I knew that I was meant to do. And before I even knew what the word passion meant, I just knew that this was something that I really loved. And so that was the first part of my life, pursuing dance as a career, making it to Broadway in New York, being a Radio City Rockette, and lots of other dance related things. I went on to start programming and moving more into that space, even though now at this time, I'm not like auditioning for a living. I'm not like always taking class. Everything that I do now is still around movement, because as I've transitioned into the wellness space, I realized that movement has always been a sanctuary and a refuge, almost like it's been my church, you know, it's where I can really tap into myself. And the deeper I got into the wellness space, the more I realized how disconnected people really are from their bodies. And I don't think, you know, as dancers, we don't really notice that, because I mean, we literally are in touch with our bodies all the time. So you just kind of already have a sixth sense about how your body moves, what the pathways are, what you need to do to compensate for things. But the average person doesn't really have that capacity because they just haven't been taught that. So now I'm passionate about movement, period, because movement is part of our life. No matter what we do, we're in some type of motion. And as far as our bodies are concerned, this is it. This is the studio of your life. This is the one thing that you have the longest relationship with, is your body. And so we need to find ways to be proactive about keeping movement in our life. So I would say, you know, dance and movement has been something that's always been a passion in my life and always will be. Movement will always be a part of my life in some capacity.
Yes. The first thing I want to say is, did y'all hear that? She said the Rockettes, y'all. The Rockettes.
Yeah, this is our time right now, Christmas time in New York. If you're in New York City, that's like the thing to do, is to go see the Radio City Christmas Spectacular.
So what was your journey like getting to the Rockettes? And part B is, were you the only Black person at the time?
I was not. The first Black Rockette was Jennifer Jones in 1985. She probably was like the only one online. I was online in 96, 97. And on my line, there was two Black girls, me and another girl. So there's 36 girls. So two of them were Black. So that kind of gives you an idea. My road to the Rockettes was funny because I didn't really, it wasn't like a long life dream to be a Rockette, because I already kind of knew the history. And in the dance world, like back then, it was kind of like, oh, the Rockettes, they just kick all the time. Like that's just kind of what it was. I mean, I hate to say this, but it's true. Like in the 90s, it was kind of like, okay, well, I'm going to audition for this job. So the first year I auditioned, they always have like a uniform that you're supposed to wear. You got to wear beige tights and a leotard. And me and my friends didn't show up in that uniform. We showed up in the unitards that everybody was wearing in the 90s that everybody got made in Broadway Dance Center. Anyway, that's how we showed up, and we got cut because they were like, nah, you know, you got to show up looking like this. So, you know, whatever. We went on about our life. And the next year, I was
going to say, did it work? But I guess not.
No, the next year, you know, you need to book jobs seasonally if you're a dancer in entertainment, period. So we went back. I wore my beige tights. I wore my leotard, my red lipstick, and my lashes, and everything else that I needed to wear. And then I booked the job because I was a good tapper. And at that time, the Rockettes really did do a lot of tap. So I came in and I got placed in the gold cast, which is the best cast. It's the nighttime shows. So I just began my career as a Rockette, and I did 2 seasons with them. And then I got my first Broadway show. So I then moved on and did that.
And what was your first Broadway show?
Annie Get Your Gun with Bernadette Peters and later Reba McEntire. That was a fun time. We were there for like maybe 3 years, which was a great run. To be on Broadway for 3 years was great. And then I did some tours like Victoria Tour. I did Smokey Joe's. And then like most dancers, you have your moment of like, okay, do I want to continue to do this? What else is there for me? I was starting to get older. I wanted to explore some other things. So I ended up taking a job at the Boys and Girls Club doing programming. So that was kind of my first real job where I actually had to go somewhere in the morning and stay all day. But it was great because it gave me a chance to flex some administrative muscles that I didn't know I had. And it gave me a real education on how to run nonprofits and run my own program, because that's exactly what I had to do. And it was amazing because I had a budget and I could hire my friends to teach classes and do all kinds of things and really build the kind of community program that I wanted to see, especially for kids of color, you know, that are living in the city that maybe don't have access to a really good arts and education program to really be able to study dance, you know? So I feel like that time I was with them for a few years, and I feel like that really gave me an education and laid the groundwork for like my entrepreneurial life, I think.
Yes. I was going to say, what a full circle, because I'm listening to your steps and I'm like, oh, I see how they're ordered already based on the retreat that I went to with you. And now I understand why you were so organized. You were so good with everything. And like,
Thank you.
oh my
Thank
God.
you. It's not easy. And I definitely feel like the more you allow yourself to be open to whatever your gifts are, the more clarity you're getting. So I kind of segued into the wellness space during, because I was doing events and things like that, still kind of along the same lines of like entertainment, but I was more like event manager for like hotels and restaurants. And so I was like booking bands. So it was all fun stuff, you know, like let's do Motown show, let's do karaoke tonight. So, and that was great too. I really loved doing that. But of course, once it happened, no events were taking place. And I wanted to always be in this space. And I think I always was dibbling and dabbling in it. Like I went to massage school when I was in LA. That was like over 10 years ago. So it was always kind of like in my mind. And even my mom said, like when I was little, I was always outside, like foraging, bringing in all these like dandelions and cooking them. And,
Oh my
you know,
God.
she'd be like, you know, so, but these are things that you don't really know, but it's inside of you. I think we all have things that are inside of us that are gifts that we can use to support our life. And I'm really blessed that I tapped into those gifts and I rode with it. I never really felt like I couldn't do those things, even though my parents were definitely not like arts people and they weren't like, yes, go be an artist. But they didn't discourage me either. Once you kind of show that, hey, I'm good at this, this is what I can do, they kind of fell in line. And so I never really felt pressure to get off that course. Maybe my life is a little bit non-traditional in that sense, but it's the life that I wanted. It's what I created for myself. So yeah, so I started moving into more of the wellness space. And now 2 years later, I really feel like this is a new passion. I don't think I thought that I would find like another passion, like how I felt about dance. And even though, yes, movement is still part of all of this, it's deeper than that now. Like my take on what I'm doing in the wellness space is really a whole 360 approach where this is the way I live my life. And so when you say like I've always lived this passionate life, thank you, because that's I think what I've always intended is that I would live life on my terms, do it my way, like Frank Sinatra says or whatever. But I want that for other women too. Like I really want women to come back to themselves through their body and make that connection with themselves and really uncover or discover what really is their true passion. Because some people weren't always able to chase after their dreams or their gifts or goals or even nurture them or whatever. So I feel like I'm creating the space for you to do that work and to really dive into some of your passions and make them happen. We can make these things happen together. I'm all about expansion and I really want all of us, but particularly women, I really want us to come back to ourselves. And a lot of that has to do with some of the things that we lost just because of history, all that kind of stuff, right? We have a lot of excavating to do to really see like what's underneath there, what's really real. One of the first things when I was studying in my herbalism class, they ask you to go back into your family and ask your mom or your grandmother or something like that, like what were some of the things that they used around the house to heal? And even just in that question, you're starting to unearth and discover. And when I asked my mom, she didn't really remember at first, but it planted a seed. So like later, her mind was ticking. And then like she would just randomly come out and say, oh yeah, my grandmother used to use this thing called rabbit tobacco and we used to drink this tea. Or she used to boil all these things up in a pot and then give it to us. So it was kind of like probably some early form of like a fire cider type of thing. But you know, there's a lot of information like that that we just don't have anymore because we've lost some of the elders. But as much as we can dig out that information, that's how we reclaim ourselves, you know? So I'm on a mission for all of us to be living our passionate lives and to find our purpose and to use our gifts in a way that can sustain the type of life that we want.
It's coming into fruition because like you really touched all of us that were on the trip. I see it online. Anybody that you touch is just prospering and just really blossoming into who they are. I really think about how our bodies and dance is like the root of everything, because on the retreat, I remember you had us moving, and in the morning, the first thing we did was some yoga. I'm really glad that you kept it in the root of your programs.
Thank you for saying that. I'm glad that you noticed that, because I noticed that when I started this journey, it does begin with your own body and how you feel about it, because even tapping into that movement, all of our emotions are stored in this area when we start to move around with our pelvis and all that. And it opens up emotions. And then you kind of feel confident, and then you feel powerful. And then once you start to feel confident and powerful in your body, then you start wanting to do other stuff. And you start thinking about, like, how can I use this energy now? What can I do? And that, for me, I feel is where it starts. Like, that's the seed. Like, if you're connected to your body, because when you're feeling good, you walk into the room and you're like, yes, I own this. I am here. Like, I can take care of this. So it's really just kind of playing around with those two things and really getting into a place where we feel comfortable in our own skin, you know?
Yeah. And sometimes even moving first for me can open me up to want to verbally speak. Some people do the opposite. Some people verbally speak first, and then their bodies, once they move their bodies, is different.
We got to be free. We got to be free in all of this, because it's all energy. Our bodies are all energy, and it mimics things that are going on in nature around us. So we need to be able to flush things out, keep things open. So breathing, breath work, all that stuff, moving your hips, bending your knees, letting your spine go, all that.
Okay, so we talked about your first passion, or one of your main first passions, being dance. What was one of your biggest challenges within that journey?
It's not an easy road. I think that, how do I say it? Okay, I think I always was a really determined kid, and I was going to find a way to make things happen. I had that going for me. I left home at an early age to go pursue my passion. So I left home at like 17 to go work at Disney. I think along the way, I can't really pinpoint one thing, but I mean, I would say that one thing is just the scarcity mindset. That's where that starts. You are an artist. You're kind of drilled with this whole thing of, like, there's not a lot of work. And especially for you, when you get to the point of, like, I'm a Black woman that's auditioning for jobs. How many of those slots are for me?
Yeah.
So you start to think about your finances and your stability. So I think, if anything, it's really trying to figure out, like, how am I going to continue to live and pursue my passion, but still pay my rent and take care of myself? I think that is really the ongoing struggle when you are trying to do anything. I think with following your passion is, like, how is it balancing out? And I mean, when you're pursuing these things, maybe most of us have like another job that we're doing while we're auditioning and stuff. I was blessed. I didn't really have to work at a restaurant or wait tables or anything like that. But I had my odd jobs here and there. You just have to be really tenacious and really trying to get the jobs and trying to figure out how you're going to maintain any kind of lifestyle, because not only are you an artist, but you're living in one of the most expensive cities in New York or even in LA. It doesn't lend itself to, like, affordable housing or anything like that. So I think, one, you have a lot of faith. You have to have a lot of faith in yourself and with whoever you pray to. You have to really, really believe that this path is for you and that you're going to be presented with opportunities that are going to help sustain you. There's just really no secret or magic pill. You got to go through it. And it's not easy, but I will say that I wouldn't trade it for anything else. I mean, of course, there's different roads that you can take, and everything that has happened to me thus far is about the choices that I've made. And I've been thinking a lot about choices and passion and all this stuff recently. One, it's the end of the year. And two, I'm going to be turning 50 next year. So I have a really big, life moment that's happening. So I don't know, like, a lot of things are happening in my mind. I'm thinking about, like, my life's journey. And, at any point I could have decided and say, you know what, I don't think I want to do this anymore. I want stability in my life. And I'm just going to change it up. And maybe I would just go into, like, corporate or something, just so that I could say that I would be stable and that I wasn't having to think about all these things, because it could be very overwhelming. But for me, I can handle it. I know that this is the road for me, and that the most impact for me is to be out here on my own, RIP, Irene Cara, trying to make it work and to figure out how to live my best life as much as possible. But yeah, I would say out of anything, it's faith and knowing that you will be supported, and that you're going to be taken care of, and that you're going to meet the people that you're going to meet, that your network is going to equal your net worth, all of those things. And to keep learning. I'm a forever student, and I always want to be in a place where I can learn and grow. And those are the tools that I use to deal with it.
Thank you for that.
Stay tuned for part 2 of Desiree on PNS.